Because I had allegedly leaked company secrets, my wife, Luna, was so livid she demanded a divorce. Just as she was about to press her pen to the settlement papers, she suddenly heard my inner voice, a clear, distinct thought echoing in her mind. Even though I'm being framed, if this divorce goes through smoothly, I'll walk away with a massive settlement. I won't even bother holding a grudge against the real mastermind behind this. Framed? Who is the real mastermind? Luna froze. President Luna, you may sign now. Secretary Kim, standing beside her, was growing restless as she hesitated. His usually calm, professional tone wavered with a hint of urgency. In the past, every time we had come to the brink of divorce, I had resorted to theatrics, sobbing, throwing fits, or threatening my own life to hold on to her. This time, he had finally maneuvered her to the point of signing. He couldn't afford a last-minute slip-up. Tick, tick, tick. Kim's foot tapped nervously. He was likely terrified that all his hard work was about to go down the drain. Luna's gaze shifted sharply. With a fluid flick of her wrist, her slender fingers pressed the black fountain pen firmly against the desk. The action startled both Kim and me. Luna's deep, dark eyes locked onto mine, catching me before I could wipe the gossip-hungry look off my face. "I'm asking you one last time," she said, her voice dropping to a dangerous chill. "Did you really do it?" She was always the cautious type. If what she had just heard was true, it wasn't just a matter of my innocence. It meant a profound, hidden threat was lurking within the heart of the corporation. She had to be sure. Secretary Kim's expression flickered with unease, though he didn't panic. He knew I had no way to prove my innocence. The weight of Luna's stare made me shift uncomfortably. My inner monologue started up again. What's with the look? Why ask that now? Is she trying to back out of giving me my $2 million? Can't you just sign the paper first and talk later? Luna felt the lump in her throat. She stared at me, her silence demanding an answer. I rolled my eyes, grumbling internally. Of course I didn't do it. It's just that everyone else is blind. Secretary Kim was drifting in and out of the office while I was there, yet the executive director's people conveniently ignored him. They didn't even check the security footage. They just dragged me out as the sacrificial lamb. It's what they call a subconscious blind spot. Luna stiffened. It turned out I hadn't been the only one in that office. Because there had been eyewitnesses pointing at me, the investigation had stopped dead, placing the entirety of the blame on my shoulders. They hadn't even bothered to check the surveillance footage a second time. Even Luna had defaulted to the assumption that I was the kind of despicable person capable of such a betrayal. That was why she hadn't hesitated for a second to condemn me. Just as I was about to speak up and say, "I have nothing left to say, just sign it," Luna's face grew progressively colder. She couldn't understand it. I clearly knew I was being framed, so why did I refuse to explain myself? Did I really have that little faith in her? At that thought, Luna suddenly stood up. Secretary Kim watched her, bewildered, as she swept the room with a gaze so sharp it made him tremble instinctively. Before he could react, she strode out of the office. Passing by me, the one who was still utterly clueless as to what was happening, she said in a low, stern voice, "Follow me." What are we doing?" I still didn't understand the situation. I watched as Luna threw open the door and spoke icily to the assistants outside. "Pull up the surveillance footage from the night of the 11th. I want to see if it's true that only my husband entered my office that night." Secretary Kim, following right behind us, turned pale instantly. Wow, my face must be the picture of total submission right now, huh? I thought. The employees of the Luna Group had long harbored a deep-seated resentment toward me, especially the administration team. Now she was demanding a camera check. Wasn't that essentially pointing a finger at them and accusing them of lying to frame me? They all claimed to have seen it with their own eyes. Otherwise, who would dare be so certain? After all, who would go out of their way to manufacture a story to frame the CEO's husband? However, with one command from Luna, the footage was quickly displayed on the large screen for all to see. The video showed me entering the office, staying for a while, and then walking out with a dark expression, looking as though I hadn't found who I was looking for. Everyone present smirked inwardly, thinking I was just being stubborn, refusing to admit defeat until you hit a dead end. Let's see how you deny it now. Only Secretary Kim began to break into a cold sweat. When his own image appeared on the screen, his pupils constricted, and he stole a nervous glance at Luna's reaction. Among those who had looked at me with disdain, a few flinched, but others showed no reaction at all. The video stopped. Luna's face was like ice. It was the truth. She turned to the people who had sworn that I was the only person to enter her office and asked coldly, "So, it was only him, was it?" The staff still hadn't caught on. A senior assistant spoke up with absolute certainty. "Yes, only him." The others nodded in unison. "These people have eyes just for decoration. They can blink, but they sure can't see," I complained internally. Hearing my thoughts, Luna's expression became even more grim. Suddenly, someone spoke up. To be precise, 2 people entered the office that day. One was him, and the other was Secretary Kim. Everyone turned simultaneously toward the source of the voice. It was a young male assistant, recently promoted. Luna had an impeccable memory. She recalled that when everyone had originally pointed the finger at me, this young man had been away on a business trip and wasn't present to witness the testimony. At this, the rest of the staff seemed to have a sudden realization, but upon further thought, they found it laughable. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting?" one barked. "Secretary Kim is constantly in and out of the CEO's office. You're new, so you don't understand, but Secretary Kim is President Luna's most trusted confidant. Are you actually suggesting he betrayed the company?" Their tone was so exaggerated. It was as if the young man had just suggested the moon was made of cheese. However, Luna suddenly let out a cold, sharp huff. The room fell into an immediate, suffocating silence. As for me, I just wanted to laugh. If they knew the truth, the look on their faces would be priceless. I looked curiously at Secretary Kim, the man everyone trusted unconditionally. His real name was Kim Mark. His hair was styled in a meticulously parted 3/7 split with a slight wave, every strand cared for so precisely that it achieved that intentionally messy look. His black tailored suit accentuated his physique perfectly, framing a masculine, angular face. Only right now, his expression was decidedly strained. But I couldn't really blame the staff for their bias. Their attitude toward Secretary Kim versus their attitude toward me was simply a mirror of Luna's own behavior over the years. Luna felt a sharp pang of guilt in her chest. "It really is my fault. Secretary Kim, do you have anything to explain?" she asked. "President, you're doubting me?" Despite the panic surging within him, Kim quickly regained his composure, his voice dripping with hurt disbelief. "It's true I entered your office. But have you forgotten? I come in every single night to organize the documents for the next day's meeting. And that's exactly why it was so easy for you to pick a time when I was entering alone to frame me," I thought, nearly scoffing. "Quite the strategist, aren't you? Impressive. Wait, do the 2 of them really work late together every night? I didn't realize you were such a soul-crushing capitalist, Luna. After the divorce, I'll send you a copy of the labor code as a parting gift." Luna was nearly derailed by my internal snark. She quickly steadied her mind. Anyone who entered must undergo an investigation. No exceptions. Secretary Kim immediately adopted the look of a deeply wounded, loyal servant. It seemed Secretary Kim truly hadn't expected Luna to suddenly treat him with such fairness. "I've already admitted defeat internally," I mused to myself. How could my standing in Luna's heart possibly compare to his? Kim has been by her side for 10 years, never slipping up once, through matters great and small. The other assistants also wore expressions of indignation, clearly feeling their CEO was being excessively harsh. "Kim is the loyal one here," their eyes seemed to say. "No matter how you look at it, the one in the wrong has to be Ethan." Treating Secretary Kim like this, isn't she afraid of alienating her most trusted confidant? Moreover, even if the CEO appeared oblivious, they all saw it plainly. Secretary Kim had always been secretly in love with Luna. He was devoted to her body and soul. Theoretically, he could have gone toe-to-toe with me for her affection, but he had always let me suppress him without ever fighting back. How could someone like that betray the Luna Group? As the atmosphere grew rigid, a burst of laughter erupted from the main entrance. I looked over curiously to see a group of people marching in with an aggressive air. The administrative assistants scrambled to the side, clearing a path. Based on my memory, I recognized the balding middle-aged man leading the pack as Donnie, a powerful director on the board. The one who had just laughed was his daughter, Diana. She was clearly the archetypal spoiled heiress, only showing up at the company to kill time. "Luna, I think you've truly lost your mind." Diana walked straight to Secretary Kim's side, her expression unfriendly, as she glared at Luna. "Wasn't this already settled in the boardroom? You're divorcing this loser, because of the leak. So, what is this little show you're putting on now? There's nothing left to investigate, yet you're digging through surveillance footage? And the most ridiculous part, did I hear correctly? You're actually doubting your loyal Secretary Kim and demanding he submit to an investigation? Are you insane? Donnie feigned a scolding tone toward his daughter. Watch your mouth, Diana. How can you speak to President Luna like that? He then turned to Luna, with a snake-like smile. The president being meticulous in her work is a good thing. We can't say she doubts Secretary Kim. I suspect it's just because Ethan refuses to admit his guilt and is trying to drag others down with him. Hearing this, Diana immediately turned her glare toward me. Can you be any more pathetic? Still trying to pull people into the mud with you? You truly are. Before Diana could finish her insult, Luna took a sharp step forward. Her face was ice cold as she shielded me behind her. Did a sewer cover go missing somewhere? Luna's voice snapped. How did this thing manage to crawl out? She paused for a moment, catching herself. Within the Luna group, the formidable Luna. Wait, what was I looking at? Ah, I see. In the boardroom, Donnie held the highest status, standing in near constant opposition to Luna. If not for the fact that Diana was utterly useless and Luna was exceptionally brilliant, Donnie would have surely installed his daughter in the chairperson's seat when Luna's father stepped down. It was no wonder Diana acted with such misplaced arrogance in front of Luna. Luna was in a state of absolute shock. Setting aside the mystery of how I could possibly know these things, the fact remained that Secretary Kim had followed me into that office. Is there actually something wrong with me? She wondered. Ah, wait. I suddenly let out a shout, making Luna jump. Inside her head, only one thought raced. What on earth did he see now? But she was forced to keep listening to Diana's loud defense of Secretary Kim. Why is she targeting me and Kim like this? As it turned out, Diana was head over heels for Secretary Kim. Luna was floored. Diana likes Secretary Kim? She sent him good morning, good afternoon, and good night texts every single day. She reminded him to bring an umbrella when it rained and to wear a coat when it was cold. Even though Secretary Kim never bothered to reply, she had persisted for 2 solid years. Talk about willpower, Luna thought dryly. If only she applied that kind of determination to her actual job. She remembered a time when, because of a casual remark from Kim about liking a certain luxury item, Diana had scoured all of Paris to find it for him. She ended up fainting from a high fever afterward. When she finally presented the gift, Secretary Kim merely said, "Drink more hot water." She had cried her eyes out. Seriously, if she put that level of devotion into legitimate work, we'd be a superpower by now, I mused internally. There was even a night when she stood under his apartment balcony at midnight, blasting Vina House music and dancing wildly. She ended up being hauled off by the police for disturbing the peace. After a stern lecture at the station, Secretary Kim didn't even show up to get her. She had to figure out a way to get released on her own. Afterward, fearing she had disrupted his sleep, she actually sent him a formal apology. One had to admit, her attention to detail in his life was terrifyingly meticulous. So, why was she such a disaster at the office? Was the corporate world simply unable to capture her finesse? Luna was speechless. Furthermore, since falling for Kim, she hadn't looked at another man. She remained pure, spending her nights staring blankly at photos of Secretary Kim. Please, stop parading these R-rated secrets in front of me, I thought. I have zero interest in other people's private business. Meanwhile, Diana, who was still arguing heroically on Secretary Kim's behalf, had no idea that her deepest secrets had been stripped bare by my inner monologue. The only clue was that the looks Luna and I were giving her were becoming increasingly profound. Beyond the indescribable expressions on our faces, there was a flicker of sympathy and a touch of frustration at a piece of iron that refused to become steel. What is even happening anymore? Luna thought, her mind reeling. Wait, so this is all a mess of karma caused by Donnie? She couldn't fathom how any of this traced back to the old director. Hold on, what was I originally dealing with? Her head felt like it was spinning. Ultimately, her focus was being hijacked by my overflowing, sentimental inner monologue. Secrets are a temptation that even the most stoic person finds hard to resist. Initially, Donnie never gave up on his plan to seize power, I mused internally. He was the one who assigned Diana to probe Secretary Kim and see if he could be swayed. Who would have thought he was throwing his own daughter into a pit of fire? He should have known his daughter is a total love brain. I bet if he knew the truth, he'd drop dead from rage. And now look at him, standing there acting like he's 100% behind his daughter. He probably thinks Diana is networking and winning hearts to build a support base for her future takeover. He's literally losing his daughter and his investment at the same time. At that moment, Donnie stood firmly behind Diana, steady as a mountain. But when Luna slowly turned an arched, meaningful gaze toward him, a sudden shiver ran down his spine. Seeing Luna look at him like that only made him more smug. He puffed out his chest and held his head high. It looks like Luna has finally run out of steam, he thought. Look at her, rendered speechless by my daughter. Maybe I can take this chance to pull Secretary Kim over to my side. Then let's see who dares call my daughter a useless heiress again. Luna, are you really going to hurt Secretary Kim for the sake of this man? Diana demanded, seeing Luna's continued silence. A flash of suspicion crossed her eyes, fueling her anger. Don't forget, the only person seen meeting the vice president of that rival company was Ethan. We have photos and video evidence. Luna, wake up. Luna, who is currently suffering from drama information overload, let out a forced cough. She quickly recalibrated her professional demeanor and looked at me sternly. Why did you meet him? She asked. Last time I brought this up, you got so agitated you refused to give a straight answer. This time, I'm getting to the bottom of it. Luna believed that even if I refused to cooperate, she could find the truth through other means. I blinked a few times, realizing things were getting complicated. I hadn't expected her to be this dogged about the investigation. Character-wise, she really isn't a bad person, I thought. She genuinely tries not to let anyone be wrongly accused. But that's not what I want. I just want the divorce. I was about to open my mouth to speak when I accidentally locked eyes with her. Her elegant, blade-like brows, her sharp phoenix eyes, and her delicate features made her look like a perfectly sculpted masterpiece. Her face didn't lose out to any A-list celebrity, especially when she stared like that. For a split second, it was enough to make anyone lose their breath. I couldn't help but linger on her face a moment longer. Her face was truly a danger to one's resolve. I was dazed for a split second. But right now, that exquisite face was stern enough to be terrifying. She radiated an aura of absolute authority that brooked no nonsense, her gaze so piercing it felt like she could see straight through my stomach. Being swept by that look sent a jolt through me, and my mouth slipped. The work schedule was arranged by my manager, I blurted out. The moment the words left my lips, I wanted to bash my head against a wall. Did I just fall for a honey trap? Why do I keep opening my mouth? Isn't this just inviting more trouble? Before anyone could react, Diana burst into laughter. That's a pathetic excuse to shift the blame. Is your manager insane? Why would she accept a job like that? The Luna Group had its own entertainment subsidiary, which included a studio dedicated entirely to serving me. As a manager hired by the group, she naturally couldn't accept outside work unless it was intentional. Without giving me a chance to explain, Diana immediately ordered someone to call my manager, Maggie. The call was connected quickly. After hearing the situation, Maggie replied instantly. What? I never arranged such a meeting. Mr. Ethan, please don't frame me. I'm just a small fish. I really can't carry a burden this heavy. A minor manager certainly wouldn't dare to falsely accuse me without backing. Everyone could hear the rigidness in her voice. It felt as though the matter had been officially verified. The corner of Secretary Kim's mouth twitched upward, and Diana said triumphantly, Next time you want to lie, pick something that isn't so easy to debunk. She then mouthed to me, I've won this time. This actually irritated me. Initially, I thought this was just a simple frame-up where Maggie had been dragged into the mud along with me. I didn't realize the scale was much larger. Even Maggie was part of the problem. Luna noticed this as well, and was about to order an investigation into Maggie when she suddenly heard my thoughts again. I wonder how much they paid to buy her off to ruin me. Let's see. Her loyalty was worth a $2,000 red envelope. No way. I must be missing a zero. There's no way my reputation is that cheap. Luna was stunned, her mind filled with question marks. Seriously? Only $2,000? Wait, oh, I see. Now it makes sense. She waited and waited, but I just continued to lament internally. Luna, usually so stoic, was being driven to the brink of madness by my inner monologue. Just say it already. If you don't speak, how am I supposed to prove your innocence? Fortunately, I regained my focus just in time. No wonder she didn't take a big payout. It turns out Manager Maggie is Secretary Kim's cousin. Their family, of course they're on the same side. Man, Secretary Kim really played the long game, planting his own people right next to me while they both pretended to be total strangers. What a masterstroke. Wait, why am I praising him? After learning the truth, Luna couldn't help but feel a shiver of dread. It turned out that Secretary Kim had been weaving this web for a very long time. At that moment, her subordinate asked cautiously, "Should we hang up now? Everything that needed to be said has been said." Luna lowered her voice, speaking into the phone with cold authority. "If there is even a single discrepancy in your testimony, I will arrange for a full forensic investigation. Manager Maggie, if there's no physical evidence, we will perform a deep dive into every single one of your social connections." For a moment, everyone present stared at Luna in shock. She's going to go that far over a minor detail? Luna appeared to be taking a shot in the dark, but her intuition was terrifyingly accurate. No one noticed the flicker of panic in Secretary Kim's eyes or the sharp intake of breath from the other end of the line. "What is your point?" Diana, refusing to back down, continued her crusade for love. Luna replied calmly, "Inconsistent testimonies are something even the police wouldn't overlook. I know Secretary Kim's network well. He certainly has no direct links to the rival company. But as for this manager, that remains to be seen." "President Luna, how could I possibly have a connection with the competitors?" Maggie asked frantically. "You're right, you don't," Luna answered. "But a simple background check will reveal your connection to Secretary Kim. A relationship that both of you intentionally hid, which just happens to be linked to this case. You cannot escape suspicion." Luna's voice turned ice cold. "Wait for the formal notice." Without giving Maggie a chance to defend herself, Luna hung up immediately. In an instant, her freezing gaze swept toward Secretary Kim. Kim, already on edge, felt his heart skip a beat and instinctively took a step back. Diana snapped, "I see you're determined to protect Ethan today. Are you actually trying to make Kim the scapegoat for him? Unfortunately for you, Kim hasn't even had contact with anyone from the rival firm. For the past 2 days, he has been nowhere but the office and his own home." Kim took a deep breath, looking at Luna with an expression of wounded loyalty, though his voice remained firm. "If the president no longer trusts me, I am ready to submit to any investigation." Logically, they would have to track Kim's recent movements and audit all his electronic devices. According to Diana, Kim had never met with the rivals. If Kim was this confident, it meant he had left no physical trail. Could it be that even his digital devices were scrubbed clean? While Luna was frowning in thought, the answer suddenly clicked for me. "So that's how it is." Luna immediately focused all her attention on my inner monologue, shocked to realize just how meticulously the trap had been laid. She was growing impatient. "Stop lamenting, and just say it already." The email had been sent on the morning of the 12th, but even if they audited his computer or used advanced data recovery, they wouldn't find a trace. Luna was startled. "It's impossible." Then, the realization hit her through my thoughts. It's because he didn't use his own computer at all. He used that idiot Diana's laptop. Diana trusted him implicitly. Her office was never locked against him, and her login password was even set to his birthday. Therefore, even if he were under suspicion, nothing could be traced back to his hardware. If the rival company ever betrayed the leaker, all roads would lead directly to Diana. Luna's expression shifted dramatically. Her sharp gaze swept from Secretary Kim over to Diana. Yet, there was still a lingering doubt. Perhaps he was simply too confident in his standing within the company. Luna braced herself to listen further, but I suddenly went silent. "Forget it," I thought. "Even if I know the secret, I can't exactly say it out loud. At most, they'll catch Manager Maggie, and even then, it won't touch Kim much. Let's just end this absurd farce." Luna's eyes flashed with a command. "Fine, let's play." "This is a joke," she said aloud. "Call the technical team. Audit Secretary Kim's devices immediately." Secretary Kim hadn't expected Luna to be so decisive as to humiliate him on the spot. His face turned an ashen gray. He gritted his teeth, his eyes welling with an expression of profound betrayal, staring at her as if she had personally shattered his soul. Diana lunged forward, agitated. "Are you really doing this?" This is nothing short of an insult to Kim's character. But faced with Luna's frigid aura, no matter how furious Diana was, she could only grit her teeth and hurl a threat. "If you find nothing, you will apologize to Secretary Kim." The bystanders said nothing, but their faces were etched with indignation. This dispute had caught the attention of the entire corporation. Quite a few executives had gathered to watch the spectacle. After all, a key figure like Secretary Kim was someone worth paying attention to. In their eyes, the only person who had lost their mind today was Luna. "The entire business world knew she could do without me. the useless Mr. Ethan, who did nothing but cause trouble, but she absolutely could not function without Secretary Kim. I suspect this crowd gathered mostly to scavenge for drama, I thought, watching their eyes light up with the thrill of gossip. This showdown is truly seismic. And here I am, just trying to be a spectator, only to end up as the centerpiece of the scandal. Turns out the clown was me all along. I shot Luna a glare filled with resentment, but she only offered me her back, stiff and unyielding as a cedar tree, ignoring the daggers I was staring into her. Even though she was nearly at her breaking point, being driven mad by my constant internal mumbling, she maintained her iron composure. It was simply her nature. Very quickly, the results of the investigation were announced. There was no longer any doubt. I was completely innocent. At that very moment, Diana spoke up with an air of triumph. "Luna, are you going to keep protecting him?" Luna felt the heat of the stares directed at her back. Secretary Kim's eyes brimmed with tears, looking as if he might break down at any second. Luna glanced down at her phone before looking back up at him. In that instant, the sheer coldness in her eyes gave Kim a sudden, chilling premonition of doom. Everyone thought the case was closed. However, instead of arguing with Kim, Luna simply turned her head toward the giant screen behind her. Confused, the crowd followed her gaze. Suddenly, a new piece of surveillance footage flickered onto the screen. Many people immediately recognized the setting. It was the entrance to Diana's office. The video showed Secretary Kim stepping inside. The onlookers were baffled, feeling the situation take an abrupt and unexpected turn. Only Secretary Kim's face drained of all color, his body went cold, and his pupils constricted violently. Diana, fueled by indignation, pointed at the screen and shouted, "Luna, what kind of game are you playing? Is Secretary Kim going into my office to deliver documents now a crime worthy of investigation?" Luna didn't answer. She just kept her icy gaze fixed on the screen. Meanwhile, Donnie, a man of vast experience, saw the timestamp on the video, and his expression shifted subtly. When the footage showed his daughter leaving the office, leaving Secretary Kim alone inside, Donnie's face turned grim. Not long after, Kim was seen leaving, and Diana returned shortly after with a fruit platter, looking frustrated to find him gone. While the crowd was still scratching their heads, the screen switched to a screen recording of computer activity. What stunned everyone was the desktop wallpaper, a large, high-resolution photo of Secretary Kim. The way people looked at Diana grew increasingly bizarre. Donnie looked as though he were about to cough up blood from pure embarrassment. Livid and flushed red, Diana jumped up. "Luna, how dare you hack into my computer?" As it turned out, a technician had bypassed Diana's password and managed to recover every single deleted email. Just as Diana finished screaming, she felt Secretary Kim stagger beside her. She turned to him, worried, still not grasping the reality of the situation. Donnie's face was now black with rage. The rest of the executives in the room began to realize the truth. The atmosphere in the room froze instantly. It was so silent you could hear the frantic beating of hearts. When the email containing the secret company documents was fully recovered and displayed, the screen zoomed in on the sent timestamp. Comparing it to the time Secretary Kim was alone in the office in the surveillance video, the truth was undeniable. But there was still one person who failed to grasp the reality. Diana stared at the screen for a moment before pointing her finger at Luna, screaming, "Are you insane? You went as far as faking a video to defame me just to protect that loser." Before she could finish her sentence, she was met with a stinging slap across the face from her own father. Smack. The force sent Diana reeling to the floor. "Dad," she gasped. "Shut your mouth." Donnie roared. He then turned frantically to Luna and the other executives. "You all saw it. My daughter had absolutely nothing to do with this. She was used. She's just an idiot." At this point, he had no choice but to admit his daughter was a fool. If he didn't distance her from the scandal immediately, and anyone suspected Diana and Secretary Kim had conspired together, even he wouldn't be able to protect her. He turned towards Secretary Kim, his voice low and predatory. "Secretary Kim, your heart is truly poisonous. You set up my daughter and framed Ethan. What did President Luna ever do to deserve such a betrayal?" Donnie was desperate to dig up some personal grudge to shift the spotlight away from his own family's incompetence. By now, every eye in the room was fixed on Secretary Kim. There was shock, disbelief, fury, and hatred. The administrative assistants, in particular, were trembling with rage, their eyes turning red. Not long ago, they had stood up to vouch for his character and condemn me. Now, they wanted nothing more than to dig a hole and crawl into it. Knowing Luna's personality, she would surely fire them all. Secretary Kim had utterly ruined them. Secretary Kim's face was ghost white, his breathing shallow and jagged as his entire body shook. He looked at Luna with a sense of utter despair, yet he still tried to struggle one last time. Manager Maggie is your sister-in-law, isn't she? Luna said, her voice a calm blade. Did you conspire with her to destroy my husband? That single sentence was the straw that broke the camel's back. The room exploded in an uproar. What? She's his relative. Wait, did she know all along? Secretary Kim's nerves finally snapped. The crowd looked at Luna in awe. Who could have guessed the situation would take such a dramatic turn? As for me, my brain had been frozen since the surveillance footage appeared. I thought the truth itself was shocking enough, but Luna had seen through every layer. When she mentioned Maggie, my manager, I finally snapped out of it. Did she know Maggie's identity beforehand? Is that why she suspected Kim? But how did she track it back to Diana? Even Donnie felt a surge of bitter resentment. How did the investigation keep circling back to his daughter? Luna shot me a glance, a silent warning that she couldn't exactly explain that all her clues came from the thoughts inside my head. She offered a cool, professional explanation instead. We won't discuss Manager Maggie for now. But once suspicion was cast on Ethan, it was only natural to audit every camera recording his individual movements and every electronic device he could have accessed. Secretary Kim hadn't deleted the surveillance footage that eventually became evidence. This was the oversight I had mentioned. Conducting such a rigorous investigation meant Luna had treated Kim as her prime suspect from the start, simply waiting to uncover the proof of his crime. Kim had assumed that even if his movements were tracked, Luna's disciplined work ethic wouldn't lead her to dig that deep into someone she trusted. He hadn't deleted the footage to avoid drawing attention to a snake in the grass. He never expected Luna to be so cold-blooded when dealing with a matter involving him. Secretary Kim collapsed completely, sinking powerlessly to the floor. But the person even more devastated than him was Diana. It was really you? Why? Diana's eyes were bloodshot, her voice trembling with agitation as she gripped his arm, demanding an answer. Donnie, feeling his daughter was humiliating herself, quickly pulled her back. What else could it be for? Jealousy. He wanted to kick Ethan out so he could take the spot for himself. Diana looked as if she had been struck by lightning. You like Luna? No, it can't be. It's impossible. Donnie shook his head helplessly. Was his daughter really this blind? The whole world could see it, yet she was the only one who hadn't. I agree, I thought to myself. Diana really is a fool. She loves the guy so much, yet she never realized he was in love with Luna. After cursing her out in my head, I looked up only to see Luna go stiff. Beneath her calm exterior, a flash of genuine shock flickered in her eyes. Oh, really? So, even the invincible female CEO didn't realize Kim was in love with her? Hearing my thoughts, Luna's ears turned a soft crimson, a hint of embarrassment breaking through her icy facade. Wait a minute, something isn't right, I mused. Wasn't this supposed to be a case of corporate espionage? Wasn't there a mastermind behind the scenes who bought the documents? Wasn't there supposed to be someone pulling the strings? Someone who bribed Secretary Kim to steal the secrets and frame me? And he likes her? How is that possible? He isn't that kind of person. I have no ulterior motives. Secretary Kim suddenly cried out in panic. He looked at Luna anxiously and spoke with desperate haste. I admit I did it, but it's absolutely not what you all think. I did everything to help Harvey. In that instant, the entire hall fell into a heavy silence. What? Even Luna's expression shifted. What did you say? Harvey is about to return to the country, Kim blurted out. Luna's pupils trembled slightly. She couldn't help but cast an awkward glance in my direction. Harvey. I knew that name. He was Luna's white moonlight, the first love who had once heartlessly abandoned her. Back then, they were the most celebrated couple in high society, the talented scholar and the beautiful heiress, a perfect match in every sense. You even know about this? Luna thought, feeling helpless. I continued my internal monologue, but what does this have to do with Secretary Kim? I looked at him sternly. The people around us were equally puzzled. Exactly. How did his betrayal connect to a ghost from the past? Secretary Kim, as if grabbing onto a final life-saving straw, rushed to explain everything in one breath. Harvey and I, we're the best of brothers. He left you back then because he had no other choice. I didn't want the two of you to miss out on each other just because of a misunderstanding. I knew you wouldn't easily divorce Ethan on your own. So, I volunteered to be the villain, hoping I could give you both a chance to reunite. After saying this, he hung his head low, wearing an expression of profound heartache as if his betrayal had been an act of noble sacrifice. In reality, Secretary Kim truly was Harvey's close friend. It was through this connection that he first met Luna, and it was the primary reason she had felt comfortable hiring him and placing her absolute trust in him. Throughout their university years, Kim had witnessed their entire romance and had even played the role of their wingman. This was precisely why Luna had always brushed off the rumors of Kim being in love with her as impossible. The room fell into a stunned silence. It felt like the tables had turned once again, yet very few actually bought Kim's noble justification. Anyone with eyes could see just how obsessed he was with Luna. What was more shocking was the revelation of his secret ties to Harvey, a detail he had kept hidden until this very moment. Now, everyone understood his endgame. But there was a piece of news even more seismic. Luna's first love was returning. Back then, their breakup was supposedly just a misunderstanding. Every pair of eyes in the room darted toward Luna, expecting her to press for more details. However, Ethan was still standing right there. The onlookers were buzzing with excitement, thinking, this is like a scene straight out of a melodrama. What no choice. What misunderstanding? I looked at Luna, and she immediately cut Secretary Kim off. She had no intention of letting the crowd gossip about our private lives any further. Because of your personal agenda, you have caused the group massive losses and implicated an innocent man. Regardless of your reasons, you cannot escape the consequences. Her voice was ice-cold as she made the declaration. Call the police. Secretary Kim snapped his head up as if the life had been drained out of him. He was in total disbelief. Luna, I did this for you. Save it for the police. Luna's decisiveness and lack of sentimentality made everyone in the room shiver. In the end, she chose the harshest path possible. Kim collapsed, losing his mind. He tried to reach out for her, but she stepped aside. Consumed by resentment, he pointed a shaking finger at me. When it's him, it's just a divorce. You even left him a way out. Why are you being so cruel to me? I've followed you for 10 years. Even if I have no merit, I have years of hard work. Luna looked at him one last time and said softly, because you are not my husband. Those words were like a sharpened blade, driving straight through Secretary Kim's heart. He stood there, frozen and hollow. Not long after, the police arrived to escort everyone involved away. I was also required to make a trip to the station for a statement. Throughout the ordeal, Diana stubbornly tried to take the fall for Kim. Blinded by his lies, she truly believed he had acted out of noble loyalty to his brother and continued to shield him. Her defiance was so great it caused Donnie to faint on the spot. Fortunately, the evidence was irrefutable. Even with Diana's desperate attempt to confess, it wouldn't hold up. The last time I saw Secretary Kim, he screamed at me as he was led away. Just wait until he gets back. Luna will definitely divorce you then. Don't celebrate too early. Truly the classic dialogue of a defeated villain. In my head, I only had one expectant thought. Really? Then tell him to hurry up, please. 3 years ago, a grim reaper accidentally reaped my soul by mistake. Since I had no family to claim me, my original body was disposed of immediately, making it impossible for me to be resurrected. To compensate for their blunder, I was granted a transmigration package and thrust into the body of Ethan. The original Ethan was an outcast. His parents had died early in an accident. Before passing, they feared their orphan son would be bullied by greedy relatives, so they entrusted him to the family of their close friends, the Lunas. The Lunas treated him like their own son. However, the trauma of his life had made the original Ethan sensitive and withdrawn. He never truly opened his heart to them. He was gloomy and eccentric. The only exception was Luna, whom he fell in love with at first sight. Terrified that he would have no reason to stay with the Lunas after graduating university, the original Ethan drugged her and spent a night with her just so they would be caught in the act. Although Luna didn't hate him, she was forced by family pressure to marry him against her will. Getting framed this time was an ordeal, but if it meant I could finally get a divorce, wouldn't that be fantastic? The original Ethan had spiraled into self-loathing, locking himself in his room for days and driving the Lunas to the brink of insanity. That was the moment I transmigrated. Even my name had been replaced in this world. I didn't want to arrive only to live as a loser. Luna was beautiful and wealthy, but if I was only allowed to look but not touch, what was the point? I didn't want to live like that. In my past life, I hadn't even held a woman's hand. In this life, I was determined to make it up to myself. Since she clearly couldn't stand me, I figured a divorce was the perfect plan. Divorcing a woman this rich would likely net me a massive settlement, enough to never worry about money again. But then, the Reaper told me, unless Luna initiates the divorce herself, you cannot divorce her on behalf of the original soul. This is your destiny. It turned out the original Ethan was so obsessed that even in death, he refused to let her go. I protested. To appease me, the Reaper gifted me a compensation package, the gossip system. This system allowed me to dig up every secret a person ever had, starting from the time they were still in the womb. It completely satisfied my curiosity. On second thought, considering the Luna family status, as long as I didn't go looking for trouble, this life wasn't half bad. I had money and plenty of free time. My wife never came home, which could be seen as its own kind of luxury. If I eventually reached my limit and had an affair, it would be Luna's fault for failing her marital duties anyway. But I never expected the opportunity to come so quickly. The situation had shifted from a frame-up to a divorce. It was perfect. I was finally getting out. By the time we left the police station, it was already dark. Luna guided me into her car to head home. The silence inside the vehicle was deafening. I leaned gloomily against the window, my heart heavy with regret. It's all because I didn't put on a performance of agonizing misery. I missed out on that $2 million settlement. $2 million. In my past life, I wouldn't have dared dream of that even if I'd won the lottery. Luna didn't catch the rest of my thoughts, but 3 syllables echoed in her mind. $2 million? Is my husband that desperate for money? Luna wondered as she pulled out her phone. A moment later, a notification pinged on my device. I opened it listlessly, only to see that $300,000 had just been transferred to my account. I stopped breathing. My eyes nearly popped out of my head as I turned stiffly to look at Luna. Did she send this to me by mistake? Luna was watching me. As our eyes met, her long lashes swept down, casting a soft shadow beneath her phoenix eyes. Her expression was more sincere than I had ever seen it. "I'm sorry," she said seriously. "I misunderstood you before. I want to apologize, and I'd like you to accept this as compensation." Luna truly felt guilty, but she had no idea how to make it up to me. Because we spent so little time together, she knew nothing of my hobbies or interests. Hearing me constantly mention money in my head, she decided to just send some. On the outside, I remained calm and stoic, looking as though my heart had turned to ash and nothing mattered anymore. But in reality, I was losing my mind with joy. 300,000. Isn't this a bit much? How did the bank's transfer limit even allow this? Stay cool. Remember, you're a man who just lost $2 million. But still, 300,000 is a fortune to me. If being framed once nets me 300,000, this is a total bargain. Feel free to frame me a few more times. I honestly don't mind. Hehe. Luna's lip twitched. She never expected him to think like that. Truly, you can't judge a book by its cover. Today was the first time she felt she was truly getting to know her husband. She stole a glance at me. I was trying my absolute hardest to suppress a grin, but my wide, sparkling eyes only served to highlight my handsome features. My straight, high bridge of my nose and neatly styled black hair caught the flickering neon lights from outside the window, reflecting off me like dancing, ethereal sparks. I looked like a spirit blending into the vibrant night. Even if Luna didn't like me, she couldn't deny that I was incredibly cool, dangerously so. She hadn't noticed it before, likely because the old me always wore a gloomy expression, looking as if the entire world owed me money. Now, my whole presence was lively and natural, as if I had let go of everything. How can a person change this much? Luna couldn't help but lean into a strange train of thought. I seemed to know so many things beforehand, even without prior contact. Perhaps a special ability had suddenly manifested? Knowing too much meant seeing through everything, which in turn allowed one to live more freely. For now, that was the only way she could convince herself. But thinking back to the events of the day, she couldn't resist asking, "Why didn't you argue your case a bit more after everything happened?" I thought for a moment, a mischievous idea popping into my head. I decided to provoke her. "Well, you've wanted to divorce me for a long time anyway." This was just a convenient excuse, Whether the accusations were true or false didn't really make a difference. Luna furrowed her brows and countered immediately. Actually, it matters a lot. Furthermore, I have never gone looking for reasons to divorce you. Even though the marriage began in chaos, she had no intention of keeping it in this state of perpetual tension. I was surprised, but my inner monologue kept running. Wait, is Luna actually a good person? Luna's face darkened as she said, "We aren't divorced yet, so don't get the title wrong. Or, are you that certain we're going to part ways?" Before she could think further, my thoughts rang out. Forced love never ends well, so why waste time? Besides, your white moonlight is about to return to the country. Isn't it better if I clear the stage for you now? Assistant Kim already said he left you because of some secret hardship. The two of you just had a misunderstanding. Any way you look at it, this is a reunion plot. I don't want to be the one caught in the crossfire. If this turns into some tragic romance drama later with infidelity within a marriage, it'll be too embarrassing. I'm doing this for your own good, President Luna. Luna inhaled sharply. That so-called white moonlight was long buried in the past. She had moved on. How could she, as a married woman, ever get entangled with an old flame? She wasn't that kind of person. That was why she hadn't even bothered to ask Assistant Kim for the truth. However, Luna couldn't exactly blurt out that she was eavesdropping on my thoughts. Whether out of a desire to argue back or simply out of sheer annoyance, she didn't wait for my verbal response. She spoke directly. Stop overthinking. As long as you behave yourself, we won't be getting a divorce. In the future, I will prove to you that I am not the kind of person you think I am. I glanced at Luna, giving a non-committal. Oh, but internally, I was doubling down on my dissent. Just wait until you and your white moonlight are caught in your inevitable tug-of-war of passion. I'll take these very words and throw them right back in your face. Luna took a deep breath. He really doesn't believe a word I say, does he? But then she realized whether I believed her or not might actually work in her favor. It's fine, I thought. Let Luna be as firm as she wants for now. As long as I play the good husband during this interval, she'll eventually come crawling to me for a peaceful divorce once her first love is back. Who knows? She might even give me a bigger settlement out of guilt. Just think of these next few days as putting money into a high-interest savings account. Man, I'm a financial investment genius. Once the divorce is finalized, this cash will be my ticket to independence. I can buy whatever house I want. Hee hee. Luna's face grew even darker. Does he really have no attachment to this home at all? Is he that eager to move out? She tried to steady herself. Calm down. This was your mistake. Don't let your thoughts wander. The car pulled slowly into the villa's driveway, where several other cars were already parked. It looked like they had guests. As we stepped through the front door, a voice drifted from the living room. Mom, Dad, this is the child that Luna and I are planning to adopt. His name is Toby. Luna froze in her tracks. Her older sister and brother-in-law had arrived. Before she could even process what this adoption nonsense was about, she felt a shift in the man beside her. I, who had been strolling listlessly a moment ago, suddenly surged forward. Oh ho! I screamed internally. Another juicy piece of gossip. High society truly never runs out of drama. Honestly, I'm starting to regret this divorce. Leaving this family is like walking out of an all-you-can-eat buffet of scandals. I marched toward the living room, my eyes sparkling with the intensity of someone about to witness a front-row performance. Our sudden appearance shattered the strange atmosphere in the room. Everyone turned to look. The butler stepped forward to take our coats. Young master, madam, you're back. The moment Luna's parents saw us, they sprang from the sofa. They rushed over, eyes scanning our faces for any sign of trouble. Mr. Liu maintained his dignified patriarch persona, but his concern was evident. Ever since I had been taken away by the police that morning, Mrs. Liu had been in a state of panic, begging Luna to do something. But Luna had coldly told her mother not to interfere. Mr. Liu could only sigh, leaving the entire matter in his daughter's capable hands. After all, this time, I was genuinely seen as having made a massive mistake. If Luna hadn't taken some form of action, it would have been difficult to appease the others. The worst-case scenario was supposed to be a simple divorce. The parents had originally planned to keep the eldest sister and her husband away today. However, the sister had acted as if she were the victim of some great injustice, calling home in a panic and insisting there was an urgent matter to discuss. Out of necessity, they let her come over. Who would have thought that the daughter and son-in-law hadn't come to complain, but to drop a bombshell about that child? Luna stepped close to my side and spoke with total composure. Oh, Sister, don't drag me into this. I'm currently pregnant with Ethan's child. Isn't that right, honey? She actually winked at me. Is she kidding? We haven't done anything. I haven't even touched her. Why is this divorce plan getting so difficult? Before I could even react, Luna's parents were over the moon with excitement. They embraced each other, celebrating with tears in their eyes as if the rest of the world had turned invisible. Ethan, wait. Sorry, Ethan, my boy, well done. Our family has a future now. My face went blank. Meanwhile, the eldest sister's face turned pitch black. It was obvious she had brought that kid home to exert pressure regarding the family inheritance. Luna looked at me with eyes sparkling, as if she were enjoying the show. Yeah, high society is just one big drama, I thought. Everyone is just chasing their own interests. The only one I feel sorry for is that poor kid. Seeing that the situation had turned against them, the sister and brother-in-law beat a hasty retreat. Mom, Dad, the little one isn't feeling well, so we'll head out first. They scrambled away, while Luna watched them with a cold, triumphant smile before turning back to me. My dear son-in-law, have you two eaten yet? Come, let's go eat. Honestly, one thing about a billionaire's family is that I never have to worry about what's for dinner. But today was a bit different. Luna's claim about being pregnant had turned everything upside down. Eat up, dear. Eat a lot. Eat so our grandchild gets fed, too. And son-in-law, you eat hearty as well. You need your strength to take care of your wife. Throughout the meal, I had to endure this injustice. Sure, I'd love to actually touch Luna. But compared to those 2 million, man, it's a hard choice. On one side is the money, on the other is love. You can only pick one. Since Luna has always been so cold to me, I'm leaning toward picking the money. It's just faster. Crash. A sudden sound made me jump. I looked up to see Luna's face darken with rage, and the glass in her hand had somehow shattered. Her parents panicked instantly. What's wrong? Are you in pain? Or is the baby kicking? Yes, that must be it, honey, the mother chimed in. Little Ethan, hurry up and take your wife upstairs to rest. I was still lost in my beautiful daydreams when I had to escort Luna back to the room. The moment we stepped inside, she suddenly locked the door. Before I could process what was happening, Luna leaned in close to my ear, her breath warm against my skin. Ethan, you really are quite naive, she whispered. I know exactly what you've been thinking. From this morning until now, every single thought of yours has been clear to me. Forget about your little divorce fantasy. I'm not agreeing to it. Her words left me stunned, my limbs going weak from the shock. Before I could utter a sound, Luna wrapped her arms around my neck and pulled me into a deep, passionate kiss. I had to admit, the original owner of this body had incredible taste. Luna was a world-class beauty, brilliant, powerful, and breathtaking. But compared to my 2 million, Luna suddenly broke the kiss, her eyes flashing dangerously as she glared at me. Ethan, at a time like this, you're still thinking about those 2 million? Weren't you just thinking about devouring me a second ago? Once you're done with me, your 2 million will still be there anyway. So, what's it going to be? I was using 100% of my brain capacity to calculate the pros and cons of the situation. But before I could reach a conclusion, Luna pulled me down onto the bed. Hubby, she breathed, if you don't satisfy me tonight, don't even think about stepping out of this room.